Hi, my name is Asia Bond, and I'm the artist for the show All Day I Dream About Soil. That's up at the Sesnon Underground. I am a junior transfer and a returning student, and I'm a double major in the history of art and visual culture and studio art. This piece in the center that is getting dirt all over the floor is called Dirt Nap, which is a kind of a crass euphemism for death. It's made of compost, cured, sifted compost, so there's no actual rotting vegetables or fruit in it or anything. It just kind of looks like soil. And on it is a silk weighted blanket that's filled with compost, a silk pillow, a silk eye mask also filled with compost, and then a sheet. Somewhere between an installation and an interactive sculpture. People are welcome to climb in to the bed of compost, to get underneath the weighted blanket, to put on the eye mask, and to rest in a somatic experience. I wanted to de-emphasize the visual for this piece, privilege other senses, sense of weight or pressure, the sense of temperature, dampness, and also fragrance. I'm just basically providing a space for an experience and hoping that people will just have some kind of experience that will be interesting and potentially nourishing for them. These photos are digital black and white photos from a series called The Decomposers. What I was trying to do with this piece was to have actors attempt to embody the kind of character of the decomposers. The decomposers really are a whole plethora of beings. There's bacteria, there's microbes, there are fungi, there's insects, there's even mammals that are kind of decomposers. But I wanted to see if we could create a story that would allow people to reflect and maybe see a little more of themselves in this decomposer role. These characters are feasting and breaking down vegetables into compost, into soil eventually. What I was trying to do was to see if the decomposers couldn't become a kind of evocative character, as if in like a myth or a fairy tale or something to that effect. This piece is a digital photograph from 2019. It's called Compost. And really it was an iPhone snapshot of what I thought was a really beautiful moment in my compost pile at home. I think that the colors, the composition, the shadows, and the light all make it somewhere between a portrait and a still life, or maybe a still death. But if you look closely, you can see worms and words from newspaper shreds and flowers. There's a lot going on in the photo. This is called Funeral Vessels for Future Life, and it's a series. This is the third one in the series that I've created. It is a vessel made out of biodegradable acetate. Eventually it will decompose. I cut out different pieces and I sewed them together in hole punch style with almost like laces made out of the same material. On the inside of the vessel, I used rabbit skin glue and 22 karat gold leaf, as well as charcoal that I created myself to kind of decorate the inner surface of the vessel. And then I filled it with potent materials such as fired clay figurines, things like grapes, mushrooms, dried flowers from my altar. I even have dried flowers from my wedding bouquet. There's also seed balls of California native wildflowers. And there's also works on paper, which I tore up to have decompose in this way. This piece is an attempt to create a site of decomposition that can be visible throughout the course of its kind of life and death cycle. So that could mirror some of the funerary traditions of ceramics and other forms that are highly decorated, made from really valuable materials, as a way of honoring the dead and demonstrating the kind of care and love for them. Eventually, everything in this vessel, and including the vessel itself, is going to decompose and turn into compost. This piece, which is called Cold Comfort, it is a quilt that is made out of cotton, and inside of it is wool. It's also made using ash and charcoal mixed with acrylic medium, which is what I used to make the marks on the surface. The ash came from a series of fires inside of a fireplace. Those fires I was having every night over the course of the period of the Paradise, California fire, which is called the Camp Fire, which was at the time the deadliest wildfire in California history. And so every night I was having a fire and meditating on fire and thinking about the terrible loss and catastrophe that this fire had created for so many people. On the last day of the fire was also the first day of the rains. And the first rain came also on the day that the campfire was 100% contained. So I gathered that water, I mixed it with the acrylic medium and the ash, and every day I painted one of these squares. I think of this piece as a kind of calendar. It's marking the days, marking the meditation on loss. It was really a way to try to process this really huge social and ecological grief that I was experiencing, and I think a lot of people in California were experiencing in the aftermath of that event. Every week I would sew them together into a strip, and eventually after 36 days I had this quilt. This piece is a way for me to try to process collective grief, to see how it changed over time, because even though it seems like a continuous repeating pattern, each square is actually a little different. There's difference in density, there's difference in direction of the flow. I see it as almost like a window that I'm looking out of.